since I got it working finally, this is not going to be a Let's Play video. This is going to be a tutorial video on how to create a character in this game. This is usually my normal account, as you can see by the much higher level characters. And, well, it'd be easier just to get started, so... Now, I went through all the classes in the first video. However, what I need to do is go over everything else. First of all, that solo ability is actually a lie. They are excellent at soloing. I should know, that's what mine is mostly done. But the reason I'm going with Artificer is because it lets me cover the most subjects. Now, the pre-made classes, well, not pre-made classes, the paths, are, I said they were useful if you're just starting out, which is true. But you're going to want to look at what they cover. I mean, like this one, this is what I normally use. It's fairly decent. Fairly decent DPS, but the repeating crossbows don't do much damage per shot, which is kind of annoying. This, I have no idea why anyone would use it. Because if you're going to go with a mage, just go with a sorcerer or wizard. And this, if you're going to be using a melee weapon, it's better to go paladin or something. But, yeah. Now you'll notice that I have both Warforged and Drow Elf unlocked. Warforged I actually own, which this is objectively the best class to be playing an Artificer as. I'll explain that in a minute. But Drow are unlockable, and I'll explain that. If not in this video, then in a future Let's Play video. Most likely 5 or 6, or whenever I get the Stormreach. Now, since I'm playing Artificer, I need Intelligence. So, the 32-point build I also unlocked. Again, I'll explain that. So, start out with 16. Don't need much strength because I'm not going to be using melee weapons much. Dexterity is important because it's ranged weapons. Constitution is important because HP. And wisdom is not important. Mine actually has an 8. Which this window right over here will give you a very good explanation, and is generally useful. This down here, it's a good way to assume what your character's going to be like, but I don't put too much stock in it. So, as of right now, I have 2 points left. My stats are in fairly good condition. Now, this is where things get complicated. Charisma is not very useful for Artificers, except for one skill, Use Magic Device, which is probably the third most important skill in this game, past Disable Device and Open Lock. By which I mean Disable Device and Search. Spot is tied well to it. Amazingly enough, all of the skills are used by the Artificer. Part of the reason I picked this class. But, see, this is one of the Actually, give me a second, I'll go back. Okay. Let's go Barbarian. Barbarians are simple. Well, they're not as simple. Yeah, they're simpler than fighters. So, can't use a half orc, so let's go human. Alright. Now, they only have 3 important stats. That being strength, dexterity, and constitution. Intelligence, completely pointless. Wisdom. Useful for will saves, but that's it. Charisma, also useless. Except for Intimidate. Which is another skill, which I'm going to get to later. I don't know if there are these less. Yeah, this is actually a pretty good spread. Got 16 in the main 3 stats, and no, the other 3 aren't particularly important. So, I'll actually go through these in order. Intimidate. Draws aggro. Which isn't that important at the beginning. It's still useful if you're going to be running a party with a bunch of fragile characters. Actually, I just read the text over here. Intimidate is useful for attracting the attention of enemies, drawing attacks away from party members with lowest HP scores. If you didn't understand that, you can just pause this and read. I know, you actually have to read. What a surprise. Jump is literally how high you jump. It's acrobatics from Marvel. That's literally it. Listen. Basically completely useless. It adds flavor text, and that's literally it. I found no use for it whatsoever. And as far as I know, no one has. Aside from just adding to the atmosphere. Swim, this is actually kind of useful, because there are a lot of underwater parts in this game. Not as many as you'd think. And once you get to about level 3? Actually, about level 5. Level 5 to 6, you can go to 3 Barrel Cove, which until recently was basically completely ignored. Because there was no epic level content, and most of the stuff there was kind of pointless after about level 9. The only thing really useful there is a set. A set that, when you have 2 of the items in it equipped, gives you an effect called Underwater Action. If you're not familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, that means you can breathe in water. I think it lets you swim easier, but basically it lets you stay underwater indefinitely. So swim is only useful for a little bit. It still determines your speed, which is actually kind of important, but after a few levels it's kind of pointless. Then balance, which is fairly useful, especially because a lot of enemies, mostly dogs and wolves, have trip. I think wargs do as well. I mentioned some wizards cast grease. Iron defenders also spit out grease. So balance is kind of important if you want to stay up. However, it's this and everything else below this is a cross-class skill, which means it takes... I'll just show you. Okay, jump is a class skill. I put in 1 point, I get 1 point out. Balance is a cross-class skill. I put in a point, I get half a point out. So I need to put in twice as many points to get the same effect as a class skill. Kind of annoying, but that's the way things go. Bluff. Same as diplomacy, it can be used in conversations with NPCs, but it also lets you drop aggro. Which is nice, because the character classes that get used the most are bards and rogues. And those aren't classes known for taking hits very well. I explained concentration, and I think I explained diplomacy as well. Haggle is a skill you almost never see. The only class that has it as a class skill is Bard. You don't see very many Bards. they're mostly support class. They're useful near the end of the game, or at least they were last time I was really into this. But that's only for buffs. Yeah, you can sell stuff with bards, but until you get really high level, that's kind of pointless. It's like, I'm charged slightly extra now. I mean, it's only 0.5%, and I lose that much how much I sell something for, but it's basically pointless because no one gets this class skill except bards. I explained heal, hide. Actually, hide and move silently are used at the same time because there's an ability in game. There's an active ability called sneak. I would assume that'd be fairly obvious, but you combine your hide skill and your move silently skill to stay hidden. Rogues are basically the only class that really use that, mostly because it goes with sneak attacks, which basically without sneak attacks, rogues are basically just really pointless. They can pick locks, but an artificer will do that. Perform, bard skill, and it also increases your sonic damage, which is useful for arcane casters, but I highly doubt a wizard's going to be putting very many skill points into Perform. Just so that way their sonic blast can get a few extra points. Repair is heal for Warforged. Literally, that's what it is. It also improves repair and rust-based spells. I can't think of very many rust-based spells, but repair is a healing spell for Warforged, which is important. Search, you can just read the description and let you find hidden doors and traps. I'm not sure what the other objects are. When it says some traps are so well hidden, it means almost every trap is so well hidden. The only time I've ever found a trap with a non-rogue character was when I was running one of the Korthos quests I don't think I've gotten to yet. With my fighter on this server and this account, who has a trinket that increases search, so it was like probably 10 or 11. That was literally the only time I've ever found a trap without a rogue. Spellcraft basically improves everything that is not covered by heal, perform, or repair. And if you think 1 point of spell power is big, it isn't. Earlier I had a pair of hand wraps drop that added, I think it was 100 points to positive energy. You had to be like level 20 or something, I don't remember. I sold them almost immediately, but you had to be fairly high level to use them, but a single point is kind of pointless. Spot, incredibly useful. I cannot understate how useful this skill is. This skill saves lives, and lots of them. It lets you know when traps are in front of you. It's key for rogues and artificers so they can disable said traps. Because if they spot them, they get I'm not sure if it actually works in this game, but I think in paper and pencil, if you spot something, you have a bonus to search to find it. So if something looks odd and you catch it at the corner of your eye and you look, you get a bonus because you think something's wrong. Tumble. Tumble is interesting. Because, first of all, I'm actually going to do the second effect first. Reduces the damage taken from fall. Sounds useful, except for one thing. Some of the easiest items to get in this game are featherfall items, low-level featherfall items. I've got several that don't have no minimum level. All I need to do is get to the bank, I can withdraw one. Tumble is completely pointless in that respect. However, It's extremely useful for rogues because it also, if they have mobility, let's see, over in the loading screen, if you have the feat mobility, which is fairly important for stuff it lets you get, it gives you an armor class bonus for your tumbling. It also lets you dodge traps, and if I remember right, gives you a bonus to reflex saves if you have evasion. So I think barbarians get evasion as well. And the skill I mentioned, use magic device. This is mostly a rogue skill. It lets you use items you normally couldn't. Like, say, a wand, a scroll, or an item that requires a certain alignment or race. The latter two don't really come into play much, mostly because those don't come up very often. They used to be uncommon, like you'd see one every couple of weeks, as in around the player base, not just you. But I think I've seen one since I started replaying this. Alignment is slightly more difficult, because there are some where, well, until the random loot started appearing, that they changed in the last update. If you wanted to use like a true law item, you either had to be lawful, or you had to have a high enough UMD to duplicate it. This is actually a function from paper and pencil. It's incredibly useful. If you have it as a class skill. If you don't, just don't bother. Buy potions. They're kind of expensive. I mean, really expensive in this game, but overall, they're... I know I said listen was useful, but... or useless, but... there's not much else I can really put it in. Yeah, UMDs, if you have it as a class skill, use it. If you don't, it's probably a better idea not to bother. Alright. Now I'm pretty sure I explained most of these. Let's start with dodge. Okay, see, here's mobility. Increases the maximum dexterity bonus permitted by armor and tower shields by 2. Adds a +4 bonus to armor class while tumbling. The first part of that is more useful. You also gain a 2% dodge bonus. But, as I said, it's mostly useful for what it lets you get. Either I minimize these, which are kind of pointless right now. Because one of the most useful skills a melee character can have is Spring Attack. Flares dodge mobility for a +4 base attack bonus, which means a barbarian can get a level 4 along with most melee characters. And Dex 13. Now, as you can read, you suffer no penalty to your attack roll when moving and attacking. Normally, if you're moving while attacking, you lose 4 to your attack bonus. This is only for melee, by the way. There's also a 2% dodge bonus. I'm not sure if that increases the cap, because there is a cap on dodge. Like I said, that's for melee. Ranged is shot on the run, which is the same thing, which lets you serious sand this game. I need to get that on my name somehow. Oh no, that's the 360. What's... Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted, but... Okay, so cleave is basically like a 120. That's probably 240. He's making whirlwind attack 360. Alright. What I've noticed is most of the... like Iron Will, it's only useful if you have a feat slot like this, but you don't have anything better to put in it. Like right here, it's like I can two-handed fighting and dodge. That's pretty good for first level. Considering that lets me use a great axe, like right here, much more effectively. And I have a small chance to dodge attacks. Yeah, that's how you make a character. Actually, I'm just going to go to exit character generation. Because now it's a simple character. Now let's make a very complex character. A rogue. I'm going with halfling for a reason. Because I start out with a bonus to dexterity. So, the way that the point-by system in this works is not based on the stats, it's by how many points you put into it so far. So by starting off with a halfling, I can go to level 16. I can go up to 16 dexterity, spending 1 point per point. So I can get 18 easily. I can start out with 20 if I want to. I don't want to, because that's incredibly wasteful. With 6 points that I can put in something like Strength, or Constitution, or Intelligence. But you see, this is where things get complex. So that's the thing. Basically, every skill is useful for the rogue. I mean, I'm not going to be using strength much. That's mostly for carry weight. And also increases damage, but it's something I've noticed, which I'm actually going to make this character. I'm not going to just go back, because there's something I've noticed when I actually started another rogue. Use 2 wisdom. Now, see, this is why rogues are really fucking complex. Almost every skill in the game is one of their class skills. So for concentration, which is a spellcasting and monk ability. Heal, which is for clerics, paladins, and favorite souls. Perform, which is for bards. And spellcraft, which is for casters. So the first thing you want to do, disable device. Oh, hey, that's one of the class skills too. I didn't know that. Hide. Ooh, silent light. Skip intimidate, because you're not a tank. Open lock. Search. Spot. Tumble. Use magic device. Then once you've got all the basics, you can go with, say, haggle. Bluff. Actually, not bluff. Balance. Actually, probably bluff. Because jump's kind of pointless. No. To some degree. Listen is pointless. Repair can be handled by others. Swim is pointless. So let's go bluff. Actually, I'm going to see. Yeah, bluff is actually more useful because it increases the chance of. It makes enemies you bluff vulnerable to sneak attacks, which, as we'll see, is one of the main things. Now here's where I screwed up last time. I went melee. I took 2-weapon fighting. This time I'm going to take point-blank shot, which once I get into the game, it can show you the enhancement trees. You'll see why I did that. But yeah, here's sneak attack. Okay, that's a bonus of 1d6 damage. At first level. That increases every couple of levels, to the point where if they're not sneak attacking, they're basically doing no damage, but if they are, they're dealing a good 100 points per shot, which is equivalent to about where my fighter is, with a 40 strength and power attack, along with a +4 great axe that he's specialized in heavily. And that was a while ago before things really changed. Alright, let's see if I can get a decent... no beard. Wish I can get her a decent set of mutton chops. I just don't like how this game doesn't have any black hair. Kind of annoying. But that's good enough for how this character looks, because again, they're mostly going to be using a helmet. So, like we learned last time, I'm going to not be talking while I'm naming this character. Because, well, let's be honest, it's going to be weird to do. So, and like I said, this is where the alignment thing comes into play. Now, with the Paladin, I had lawful good armor, so I couldn't use, say, chaotic items, or at least couldn't. I can now. Well, I can use items that deal chaos damage, but aren't actually chaotic themselves. It's complex, and it's a weird bug. But here I've got all the options, and notice, like I said, there's no evil option. See, true neutral basically gives you the best options, because there are a handful of items in the game which count as evil. If you're good, you have 1 negative level while you're using it, which is kind of problematic. Again, it's a negative level. So, like if you're, say, level 5, actually I don't know how they work. I just know they give you a penalty to basically everything. But that doesn't really fit, so let's just go neutral good. I don't really care about the surname, it's not that important. And if you don't get the joke about my artificer, the artificer's not made by House Cannith. It's a shitty pun, I know, but it seemed clever when I did it. Alright, now I forgot I start out on the ship. Again, this will make much more sense after I actually start getting into Stormreach. in the actual Let's Play. But for right now, just roll with it. Alright, so these are the enhancement traits. Obviously. Now the assassin is, well, an assassin. You know, prioritizing sneak attack, I would assume. Start up. Wow, that actually renders weapon finesse entirely pointless, as long as he's using daggers or kukris. Wow, that's... It's a good thing there's no penalty for using multiple skill trees, because that makes melee builds incredibly powerful. What's that do? Increases your dodge. You get 10% dodge if you get hit enough times. So, wow. That's kind of sad. Please tell me that's not... Oh, Jesus. Poison. I was thinking I was going to go a completely different direction. Alright. That's actually not as powerful as you'd think. But... don't care. Meh. That's actually pretty decent. That's honestly kind of insane. What are you? That's... I don't know what to say about that. That's a little weird. And it's a 5th tier, so yeah, but this is why I took point blank shot. Mechanic. You see, assassin is basically pure damage, melee damage. You're kind of losing focus. You don't have as much focus on what a rogue basically does, which is anti-trap and finding your doors and picking locks and all that. Mechanic is the trap master trait. It is basically what every rogue should be. It's what you should focus on if you're going to be doing elite quests. Something I rarely do. I'm just going to have to look at Thief Acrobat. It's interesting. So it starts off, your point blank shot range and your range sneak attack range increases, but that last sentence is the most important. Proficiency with Great Crossbows. Those are, as far as I know, until recently, until this system was created, those were never fucking used. Never. Because you had to take a feat to get proficiency with them. And unless you're a fighter, you're not going to have that many feats. And if you're a fighter, you're probably not going to be using a crossbow. You're going to be using an axe, a sword, a maul, a melee weapon. I mean, yes, it's possible to make a ranged fighter, but if you're going to, you probably want to go ranger instead because they get a bunch of feats related to that. This is actually... When I saw this, I'm like, well, fuck melee weapons. There's no point to them. Okay, so let's go with this. +1 hit and damage. And +1 more damage. And a sneak attack die if it's a non-repeating crossbow. So, say you're using a Great Crossbow. Okay, you get +1 to hit, +2 damage, +1 sneak attack dice. So, like I said, it starts out as a 1d6. It's now 2d6. Again, double that. So it's plus 2 to hit, plus 4 to damage, 2 more sneak attack die. And that goes up, you get 5 of those. Already you can probably see where this is going. Okay, what's this? You get a 1 in 3 chance to have a stack of bleed on enemies, which gives them a little more damage. You put 3 points into it, they're always going to bleed. This is an active skill. It's Tangle It Back. Which thankfully does not actually require making a trap. Oh jeez. 46 acid damage every 2 seconds. Which, if again, I haven't actually looked, but if I'm correct on how the ranged power is used, but basically, if you have like say 5 ranged power, it'd be 46 plus 10 damage every 2 seconds. Reflex save for half. Now if they make that save, then they're also not slowed, but still, that's pretty powerful, especially because you have to be level 3 to use that. And once you hit level 6, first you with light repeating crossbows, which, again, there's no point in using, because you're going to be using a great crossbow, because so far everything in this has been geared towards that. And you use your intelligence modifier for damage. And this increases sneak, spot, and search range by 50%. Proficiency with heavy repeating crossbows. And another +1 to hit and damage. And an extra sneak attack dice with every ranged weapon. Alright, before I completely lose my mind, I'm going to go to this. Okay, this is understandable. +1 disable device, open lock and repair, and +1 disabling throws and making against traps. That's good. That's balanced. This is +1 list to search the spot. That's good. I like that. Kind of pointless because if you're not a dedicated healer, if you don't have a dedicated if you don't have a dedicated healer in your party, what the fuck are you doing? You're a rogue. You're not meant to solo. But yeah, you can. Kind of pointless, but what's Thunderstone? So they have their active abilities duplicate items from paper and pencil. Oh Jesus! Rank 3, 28 damage every. Oh, it just deals that much damage. Okay, that's a little better. Constructs are rare. Alright, what are you? +1 UMD. Dex and Intelligence.